Hello! I just want to say hello to the Five Fish Fangirls. No, that's wrong. I want to say hello to the Five-ish Fangirls. Yes, that's right.
Yes.
Yes, that's
Yes,
correct.
that's
Anyway,
correct.
hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. Hello. That's five hellos to the Five Fish-ish Fangirls. Bye.
The tangents and squeeing continue all the way to episode number 3 of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast, and I have one warning for you. Don't feed the trolls. Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Five-ish Fangirls. And just to start off, let's go around the virtual table and see who has joined us this week.
Hi, I'm Brittany from Taos. I'm Chrissy from Salt Lake City.
And I am Rachel from Indianapolis, and unfortunately both Holly and Michelle have been sucked into the sodding vortex.
No,
this
they're
week.
gone.
Chrissy had been sucked in, and I had been sucked in, and we managed to escape, but Michelle and Holly unfortunately were not.
We knew this would happen at least once, so we planned for contingencies. They'll be back at some point, and wait. I think we got someone unstuck.
We were about to say, and Michelle may escape.
My iPad and it worked! Yay!
The transmat beam worked!
Yay, we fixed the transmat. Michelle, go ahead and introduce yourself. I'm Michelle in Kitchener, Ontario.
Yay,
That's okay. We're just glad the vortex finally spit you out.
Yep.
Yes. Yep.
Fortunately, it wants to keep Holly.
We were just introducing ourselves, so you have not missed much.
Nope.
So, you came in at just the right time. So we have got some interesting news to talk about this week, some very squee-worthy stuff, and a very interesting topic to discuss as well. So we're going to jump right into news with something that I'm very excited about, and I think you guys are probably very excited about as well, is in Orlando, Florida, over last week/weekend. They had the media preview for the new Wizarding World of Harry Potter Diagon Alley expansion. For those of you that don't know, at Universal in Florida, they have two parks. They have Islands of Adventure and the Universal Studios. And Islands of Adventure has the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, which consists of Hogsmeade and Hogwarts, among other things. And they closed, over on the studio side, they closed Jaws, where Jaws used to be, along with some other things, and leveled that all to the ground and created a second section for the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, which is Diagon Alley. And it consists of Diagon Alley, the Leaky Cauldron, Gringotts Bank, Weasley's Wizard, Wheezy's Nocturne Alley. This thing is, if you've seen or been to the Hogwarts and Hogsmeade part of Harry Potter, then you know that they did it down to the smallest detail. It feels like you stepped into the movies, and what I've seen of Diagon Alley is no exception. It's not open yet. It opens July 8th is the grand opening, but they did have a media preview, and that did include guests of honor who are part of the Harry Potter franchise, including Helena Bonham Carter, Tom Felton, Robbie Coltrane, Warwick Davis, I'm going to butcher his name, Domhnall Gleeson, Bill Weasley for you people, Bonnie Wright, Evania Lynch, Matthew Lewis, and James and Oliver Phelps. And I watched the red carpet event that they had with the stars on Wednesday. They had a live event where you could watch the red carpet with all the stars and all that, and I'm very excited for this to open. So have you guys seen the video and pictures and all that? Are you?
I've seen some of the pictures. I haven't seen any of the video
Yeah.
quite yet, but it looks pretty cool. I wish I could go.
Yeah.
Yes. I still lived in Florida.
Yeah. I visited. I was actually in Florida. I was at Walt Disney World at the same time that the Islands of Adventure Wizarding World opened. I was not at Universal. I was at Walt Disney World, but I remember seeing pictures on Twitter and Facebook and stuff, and it was a mad house. Absolute madhouse. The lines were just hours and hours and hours long just to get into that part of the theme park. And I imagine that this is not going to be any different. So if you want to brave it, July 8th is D-Day. Otherwise, I would recommend waiting till after summer. If not,
sounds like good advice.
Yeah, if not longer. I personally went a year. It opened in June of 2011. I think no, 2010. It opened in like June of 2010, and I finally visited it in December of 2011. So about a year and a half after it opened. And early December is just a good time to visit Central Florida and all the theme parks anyway, because it's not really crowded. So that's the plan now. Is I'm going to let this open, and then I'm going to go visit it next year. So
That'd be good. That'd be good.
Maybe we can get.
I was just saying that would be good because then they lets them get all the bugs out of the system.
That too.
Yes.
And then it's all working good. Everyone can enjoy.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But until then, stay tuned to Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and all that. We'll put links to a couple of channels on YouTube that are Florida centrally located, that they focus on what's going on in the theme parks. And I know that they've already put up really good video from the media event, so you can see that to tide you over until you get to visit it yourself.
Awesome.
Super excited. And next, some Doctor Who related news.
Matt Smith has been announced to appear at Fan Expo Canada. Fan Expo Canada will be held August 28th to the 31st at the Metro Toronto Convention Centre. Matt Smith has been announced as one of the many, many guests, which include William Shatner, Adam West, Elijah Wood, Stan Lee, Nathan Fillion, and David Morrissey, among others. I really wish I was going, but I can't.
Well, we do have our resident Canadian who is
she
hopefully going
she's
to
back?
attend.
Hi.
Hi.
She was just so excited about the idea of meeting Matt Smith, she just couldn't stand it. And Michelle has returned again from the master. He just keeps trying to pull you back in, and you keep escaping. You fight him. Fight the master.
I'm fighting him. So, yeah.
Do you want to say anything about Fan Expo Canada real quick?
Well, this will be my third year going, and I'm hopefully volunteering, but I haven't.
It's still up in the cards.
Well, I haven't heard back from the people because I submitted my application. I figure if I haven't heard back from them by July, I'll probably buy a ticket because I'm definitely, I can't miss Matt Smith.
That for sure.
Yeah.
It'd be cool if you get in as a volunteer and you get to escort him to all the panels and autograph signings and stuff.
That would be awesome.
Hang out with him.
Fetch him a bottle of water. You could be like, I gave Matt Smith a bottle of water.
He'd probably be super cool about everything too.
Yeah.
I know.
That guest list is just really cool, though. But,
Yeah.
Matt Smith is awesome.
I know.
But
Fan Expo Canada is the third largest convention of its kind in North America.
wow.
After San Diego
Nice.
and New York Comic Con. So
That makes sense.
it's So and we've really traditionally had a pretty good guest list. Like Stan Lee has been fairly regular over the past few years. We got Shatner. We got most of the cast of The Walking Dead. I think has been confirmed for this year. Last year we had Zachary Quinto, Carl Urban, George Takei, and Shawn Nichols.
Nice.
Nice.
Nice. That is a good guest list. I know when Stan Lee came to Salt Lake, they kept him as like a last-minute surprise sort of thing. So that's cool. You guys have gotten him pretty regular.
But I've seen his lines and they're.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, it's Stan Lee.
You don't get much chance for anything more than a hi, Mr. Lee. Thank you for coming, and you're awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excelsior.
Anyway.
That's very cool.
So, yep. Yeah.
So next up on our news list, if you haven't heard, they are rebooting Heroes in 2015. It's going to be called Heroes Reborn. Well, we have news of the first returning cast member. Jack Coleman is confirmed to return to reprise his role as Noah Bennett, also known as HRG. For a long time, we never knew what his name was, and they called him HRG, short for horn rim glasses. And speaking of awesome dads in pop culture last week, he was one we could have included, but. We could have, but we didn't. But we're mentioning him now because he's going to be in Heroes Reborn, which starts. I don't know when they're starting filming. We just know he signed on for the show, and which will return on NBC next year. So look forward to that, all you Heroes fans. Which I like Heroes. I love that. That was a great show, even though it had a. Season 2 and season 4 weren't that great. I personally, I mean, season 1 was awesome. Season 2, the only problem is, season 2, the only thing it had wrong with it was that there was a writer's strike, so they couldn't do it justice very well, and
it was crippled by the writer's strike.
Yeah.
Have you heard what we're planning to do for the second half of the season? Had the writer's strike not happened?
I don't know what anything in
they were
depth.
gonna do this whole plot with the virus, and where Maya would essentially be a cure for the virus.
That would have been good.
That's why she was introduced in a half, and then when that didn't happen, she was just kind of written out in season 3.
Yeah, I thought season 3 was pretty strong. I really liked it. And then season 4, well, I could tell they were going to do something with it, but then they never got the chance to do it. So, I don't know. But I'm excited for the reboot, so this is good. This is good news to have.
I'm going to have to go back and rewatch it now, since I need a refresher.
I will admit, I have not watched it.
I started rewatching it. That's one of the things I should get on with watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on my list.
I've got it on I've been watching it on Netflix, and I'm up to episode 13 of the first season rewatch.
Yeah.
So.
Yep, it's quite excellent. So.
Yeah. All right. Next up on news. The Capitol celebrates District Heroes in a One Panem marketing campaign in anticipation of Mockingjay Part 1. The Capitol, under the authority of Capitol Ministry of Information, released profiles of 7 District Heroes across both Yahoo Movies and Tumblr. These 7 profiles, all depicting citizens of various districts in Panem. This campaign is similar to past promotions, where different aspects of the capital have been recreated in advertising and social media. Each image is accompanied by a profile of the district citizen depicted and how they are district heroes by exemplifying the district's industry and culture, which is very exciting.
Yeah, it's kind of like when the first Hunger Games movie came out, they had, I think it just started with the first one, it's called Capital Couture, which is like their fashion line, like showing like what the hottest and neatest capital fashions are. And now this one, because of where the storyline's going with Mockingjay, it's kind of cool because they're trying to promote district unity, so they continue with their tradition of propaganda posters and kind of things. And the images are really neat. They're also kind of creepy, which fits in with the whole capital totalitarianism and stuff like that. And you read the profiles, and we'll link to them in the show notes, but you read the profiles of each of the people, and it's like so-and-so, like the one for District 12 is a little girl, and she's eating an apple, and she's covered in coal dust, and because they're the coal mining district, and she's like, she envisions a bright future where the fruits of the mining labors light the way to a brighter future for Panem. And it's like, yeah, that kind of sounds like what they would do, and it's kind of creepy, but also kind of cool, just to keep in to make a point of what the movie's about.
Yeah.
So anyway. So yeah, Mockingjay Part 1 comes out this fall.
Is it this fall?
I can't remember the date. Yeah, it's November.
Okay.
It's November. Like around Thanksgiving.
I don't have it written down.
Do.
And in other movie news, we've got another trailer, an extended trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy. This one's a bit more serious. It's not completely serious because, as we've seen so far from the other movies, the other trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy, this will also contain the same type of humor in the same vein as the other Marvel Cinematic Universe films. But you see a little bit of Star-Lord's origins. And there's a bit more action and drama with, these renegades coming together to save the universe and all of that stuff. It's a good trailer. There's some scenes and some clips in there that haven't been in others. It's a decent length trailer. It's like 2 minutes and 21 seconds or something like that. So it's the first trailer I've seen that doesn't contain the Ooga Chaka song. Which I've come to expect from pretty much every trailer that's come out for this movie.
I know. I watched this trailer and I was like, "Hey, where's the oldies? Where's the groovy oldie stuff?" And it wasn't there, but it's okay because it's got a different tone to it.
Yes,
so it's like it's a different side of the movie. Yeah. So I'm still excited.
Yes, and
it's gonna be.
It's I don't expect anything less from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The bar is set very high, and I expect it to stay there with this particular film. So.
It will. They do well with anything they've got.
Which is coming out very, very, very soon, early August. So.
Yep.
Coming up fast.
Little over a month now.
Yeah.
Anyways. Speaking of premieres and new stuff, this news dropped pretty quick. Last week we had a link to a trailer for season 3 of The Legend of Korra. Well, we got news that that season 3 will actually premiere on June 27th, which is this upcoming Friday. If you're listening to this as it airs, as it drops, the IGN has an article and a clip from episode 1. It says, The Legend of Korra Book 3 Change will debut on Friday, June 27th at 7 p.m. on Nickelodeon. You'll get a ton of Korra that night, as the first 2 episodes of Book 3 will air from 7 to 8 p.m. I'm guessing this is Eastern. It says Eastern Pacific. I just,
it's
turned
Eastern,
out, the next
Pacific.
day, The next day when it comes online, that's when I watch it on their website. Anyway, and it will also be followed by a special bonus presentation of the 3rd episode of Book 3, The Earth Queen, at 8 p.m. And also, in conjunction with this, if you haven't seen the show at all or you want to just rewatch it, seasons 1 and 2 are available to watch for free on Nick.com for a limited time. My guess is that they're only going to be there until Friday when Book 3 airs. And I'm excited for this, but I'm also kind of sad because I know this isn't what they wanted to do, but they had, Leaky McLeakerson got the screener copies and put them out on the internet. So I kind of imagine that what they wanted to do was advertise and promote it during Comic-Con and then premiere it like in August or September, and they couldn't do that because of what happened. So if you're a fan of Korra and you just haven't heard about this, tune in just so, because Nickelodeon is infamous for screwing around with their scheduling a little bit, and so like they change the dates and time or the times every week, it seems like. So you have to watch, and so the ratings go down, and people are kind of nervous about that. But it's a really great show. So even if you've never watched it before, give it a try. I mean, this week you can watch seasons 1 and 2. It is a continuation of Avatar: The Last Airbender, but you don't have to have seen Avatar to understand Legend of Korra, because it's all kind of there in the beginning, and you kind of understand like how the world works and everything. Anyway, so that's it. Season 3 starts on Friday on Nickelodeon, 7 o'clock Eastern Time, or it'll be online the next day. I presume that's what they did last year with season 2. So that's the news.
Cool. Lots of good stuff going on this summer, even with most television shows being on hiatus.
I know. Hiatus is kind of making me punchy. I don't know about the rest of you guys, so I'm kind of excited that one of my shows is coming back. I might get through this. It's going to be okay.
I haven't watched Legend of Korra, but I watched Avatar. So I do plan on catching up with the first two.
Started watching?
Yes?
I started watching like season 1, but I got busy or something.
Yeah. That can happen. And it's a little faster paced than Avatar, because Avatar had more episodes to work with, whereas Korra only has like 12 or 13, I can't remember now, but it doesn't have that many episodes every season, so they have to like really truck through the storyline. But there's been some really good storylines. Last year's was quite excellent, and it actually went back to the very beginning of the Avatar cycle, and there was like a extended flashback 2-parter, and it was really, really well done. Probably some of the best stuff that this studio has cranked out, and that was one I watched 2 or 3 times. It was just so good.
So it shouldn't be that hard to get caught up if I wanted to.
No, it's not that hard to get caught up.
Yeah, 12, 13 episodes. I can get that done in a weekend.
You could get it, you could get it done this week if you put your mind to it, which is what you have. So anyway.
Very cool.
So yay the news.
Yay news.
And I guess we'll move on to feedback, and once again we have people that listen and then actually send us messages.
Yay! Thank you, people, for sending us emails and stuff and comments. That makes us feel good.
Warm fuzzies.
Yes. Warm fuzzies all around.
Yes.
So, our first bit of feedback comes from Keith, who we all know and love from Traveling the Vortex. It says, "Hey ladies, Keith here, really enjoying the podcast so far. Congrats on your now 3rd episode. I really like hearing all the different perspectives so far. Here are a couple of my random thoughts from episode 2. A bit of Star Wars trivia for you. The reason the video game Battlefront is so exciting is that they did 2 before on consoles and 1 handheld that were a lot of fun. You were essentially playing out battles from the movies, and you create your own battles. It was kind of a third-person Star Wars version of Battlefield or Call of Duty. Myself as a gamer couldn't get into the war games, but Star Wars Battlefront was the exception. A third game has been rumored and been in the works for a long time, so it's nice we're finally going to get it. I really enjoyed your dad lists and your honorable mentions, plus all the ones on the blog. I agreed with most of them, and some I hadn't heard of. I do think Keith Mars should have been made the top 10. Whichever ones of you haven't watched Veronica Mars need to ASAP. I'll put it on the back burner, Keith. I got
Same here.
Okay, back to his thing. Where was I? Oh, only one dad I disagreed with you on. I see your Pete Tyler and raise you a Brian Williams. Oops, we forgot Brian.
How can we forget him?
Sorry, Brian. See, Brian is a much better dad, in my opinion, than Pete, and we only got him in 2 episodes. Oh, I feel remiss now. Sorry, Pete.
Yes.
Sorry. Brian's awesome. He's Rory's dad. You have to love Rory's dad.
Yes.
Okay.
He keeps a shovel. He keeps a spade and golf balls in his pocket. I mean,
and he doesn't wander off.
Yeah, and he doesn't wander off.
He sits in the TARDIS for like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
Yes. Not to go anywhere.
Of all the companions the Doctor's ever had, Brian Williams has been the most compliant with the Doctor's instructions, almost to a fault.
Yes.
All you have to see is the power of 3 to realize that Brian took the Doctor's orders just a bit too literally.
Yes. But and he's like, and at the end when he's like, or the middle, wherever it was, when he's like, how many of your companions have died? And the Doctor's like, not many. Okay, a few. And Brian's like, take care of Amy and Rory and that kind of thing. And it's like, oh dear.
Yeah.
The next episode is Amy and Rory's leaving episode. It's like, this will not end well.
We won't get into that. Spoilers.
Spoilers. If you haven't seen it, but anyway,
watch it for yourself.
Yes.
Watch and find out.
Yeah.
So anyway, Brian Williams. Yes, we were. Man, like this week, I've just remembered so many good ones, and
I
put a
know.
bunch
Same
up on the
here.
blog. So anyway, we could talk all day about favorite dads in pop culture.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, all right. So Keith goes on to say, and in case you guys talk about it, which we will here in a bit, the little library law is dumb. By their rationale, they couldn't have mailboxes on the street. Just stupid. Makes me a bit ashamed it's in my state, since it's a suburb of Kansas City. Can we just pretend it's a Missouri law? And in case you don't know what I'm talking about, then Chrissy can explain, which I will gladly do right now. The other day, I was on Facebook and I found this article about a 9-year-old boy in Leawood, Kansas, who had created a little lending library in his front yard, and all he had was like this little kind of mini house-looking thing. It's like a box that just says little free library, and there's a bunch of books in it. And people can go in and they can look in the box and see if there's a book they want, and they can take it and borrow it, and they can, replace it with some of their own, so people can just kind of come and go and lend books. Well, apparently, Leawood city leaders, whoever they are, and shame on them for this, they told this 9-year-old boy, Spencer is his name, that he can't share books with his neighbors because, I don't know, it's like, but there's like no real reason. It's like, what did they say? Like, I guess people were complaining about the little library. I don't know who was complaining about this. But anyway, it's kind of, but then at the end,
the law that he talks about is that they're not allowed to have freestanding structures separate from the house. Like,
which
it's a structure. It's not part of the house. So apparently that's against the law.
Apparently, but there's a picture of it on the article, and it's no bigger than a mailbox. So that's what Keith was referring to. It's like you by that logic, you can't have a mailbox in your front yard. So it's like, okay, I don't know what you're thinking. But then I guess there's a city nearby called Prairie Valley that they have people do this all the time, and they just don't enforce those codes because they're like, well, duh, it's stupid. Anyway, so that's what Keith was referring to in his feedback about that. So anyway, boo for city regulations shutting down 9-year-olds lending out books. Anyway,
shame.
And then Keith closes out. Yes, for shame. Keith closes out. One final thing for me. The final trailer for Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. OMG, this movie looks amazing. That's it for me. I'm looking forward to what other things you will discuss. Until next time, regards, Keith. So, thank you, Keith, for sending in feedback. Oh,
yes.
And I know Keith has been doing his Flicks with Friends, Planet of the Apes. I've never really been into Planet of the Apes, ever. I think I've seen the Charlton Heston version and the remake, the Tim Burton remake, and that's all I really know. Anyway, anyone want to pop in with that?
Oh, I've been watching them with Keith, and this is like the first time for me to watch them, and I actually find them pretty intriguing. So I've been enjoying it, and then we'll be watching Rise of the Planet Apes sometime early next month. So that should be exciting.
Yep. But, cool.
Yeah.
And then we have another piece of feedback that was left on our follow-up blog post to last week's episode topic of the number one dads. We put up a post of dads that we forgot to mention in the show and wanted to mention, and now we realize that we may need to do another follow-up post with some even more.
We could be doing follow-ups for episode 2 forever.
Yeah. So, but this piece of feedback was left by Anonymous, and it says another great podcast. No hurry getting onto iTunes as far as I am concerned. iTunes is only one.
iTunes.
Yeah. Oh, I can't read. Essentially, iTunes is only one brand of the many devices for podcasting, I think is what they were trying to say. And they said that I'd rather see it included in the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance. For pop culture fathers, look at Rick Marshall from the 1970s Land of the Lost, played by Spencer Milligan, and please forget the reprisal of the role by Will Ferrell. He strove to bring up his kids right while faced with the unusual dangers, including dinosaurs, of the pocket universe he and his 2 children had been dropped into. And I remember watching the original Land of the Lost on reruns, and I vaguely remember the movie remake with Will Ferrell, but I didn't watch it because I'm not a huge fan of Will Ferrell. So.
Okay, now I have a question
Yes.
about Land of the Lost, because I remember seeing a one in the 90s on like Disney Channel, or was it ABC, and I don't know if this was just reruns of this one from the 1970s, but I don't think so somehow. So I'm like, wasn't there another one called Land of the Lost? Or am I just going crazy?
There may have been, now that you mention that. I think there may have been a version made in the 90s, and that may actually have been the version I watched. But if you're not familiar, the premise is that this family essentially falls through a crack in time and goes back to the time of the dinosaurs. It's kind of Swiss Family Robinson meets Jurassic Park, essentially.
With time travel thrown in
with
there.
a little bit of time travel thrown in. It was an interesting premise for a TV show. With the parental units and the children trying to survive, in a land of dinosaurs.
And it's kind of interesting because they were like going on a camping trip or something. So they fall in with their car, and they've got all this modern camping gear. So they live in a treehouse. So they've got their SUV running around, chasing. I guess dinosaurs are chasing them in their car or something. But I remember it being really good.
But I just want to stay away from the Will Ferrell version.
All right,
unless you like Will Ferrell.
I looked it up, and it was remade in 1991.
There you go.
Oh, okay. All right. So there was one.
And I don't think I've seen any version, and it sounds really like something I would watch, so I'm surprised I haven't, so I need to put that on my ever-growing need-to-watch list.
Yeah.
It's sort of like my to-be-read list that it will never
exactly.
It'll never
finish.
ever end.
It's like I think it was probably Lemony Snicket or C.S. Lewis, I can't remember who, that said, I will die next to a pile of books I meant to read.
Yes.
I will also die next to a list of TV shows I meant to watch.
Yes.
Yes. So much stuff to read and watch, so little time.
So much good stuff, too. Oh, my gosh.
I know.
So thank you, Anonymous, for that. And if you, I don't know if this particular person is being anonymous because they want to remain anonymous, and if you do, that's perfectly fine. We don't have a problem with that, but, you know, if you want to let us know who you are, we wouldn't mind that either, so that we can thank you by name.
Yes.
But either way,
We assume you're not the creepy anarchist Anonymous that does weird things on the internet, though.
So that is
Sorry,
it for...
that was random.
Yes, okay. This is a no anarchy zone.
Exactly.
So I guess we will move on to this week's topic, which I guess a little background. The how we ended up on this topic was actually originates from a article that I think Brittany posted on Facebook. Was it Brittany?
Yes,
Okay.
I found it.
Okay,
It was me.
Brittany found it. It's an article on Doctor Who TV, .co.uk, written by Alex Lawrence. The title of the article is "Yes, I'm a Whovian, but I'm one of the nice ones." and essentially,
I have to say their front picture is quite creative.
yes,
Yes.
We'll post a link to it so you can go and
Yes.
and see for yourselves.
The picture is obviously a photoshopped image of Matt Smith when he was in American Psycho, it was like covered in fake stage blood and with the hatchet up, and he's looking kind of menacingly at Stephen Moffat. I think it's quite apt, but anyway.
But the general gist is this person, Alex, talking specifically about Doctor Who fandom and how there seems to be unrest, I guess is the best way to put it, with people's opinions on how the show is going, where they think it's going, the vitriol towards Stephen Moffat by some people. It's an opinion piece, but Alex brings up some good points, and kind of jumping off of that is obviously we're Doctor Who fans. That's what brought us together. But we kind of want to expand upon that and talk this week about being a fan in general in this day and age, because a lot of things that Alex talks about are relevant because of the digital age that we live in now, and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and YouTube and all that. So we kind of want to talk about what it's like being a fan of anything in the digital age.
Yeah.
So.
And just there's like one line in here that kind of caught my attention about this, and it's like the third paragraph down, and it starts the paragraph. It says, "The main thing I currently see people talking about in relation to this topic is how the show is gaining hate from the majority of fans and how far we've fallen as a fan base in our ways of speaking and respect, especially online. Day after day, and I'm sure most of you, see comments moaning about how Moffat has, quote, ruined the show, and how much people want to see David Tennant back, despite him leaving Doctor Who 4 years ago and Moffat only writing a fraction of the episodes in his era. And there's no denying that this is a problem that's going on as we speak, and it must be stopped. What I would like to say, however, is that there is no major need to worry. This is only a fraction of the fan base. I don't mean only a fraction who used. Well, oh wait, Sorry, I missed my spot. But basically, what he's saying is people who get online, get on Tumblr or Twitter or whatever, and says, Stephen Moffat is a dirty, rotten so and so needs to be stopped, and they just and without a lot of basis, and they're just kind of being hateful and mean. They're actually a very small minority of the people who are fans of Doctor Who, and he goes on to talk about how, Day of the Doctor was such a huge success in the UK, and it got a bunch of awards, and people loved it, and it's and it was mostly down to Stephen Moffat. He wrote it, and he was producer, and he showrunner and all that stuff. And so if people really did hate Doctor Who, and hated the way Stephen Moffat is running it, would that have been such a huge success? And maybe it's just this vocal minority who, nevertheless, they get a lot of attention because they're on the internet and they can say the most curse words about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. So anyway.
Yeah. I think we're all of the right age bracket that we remember pre-internet, back when dinosaurs roamed the earth, I'm sure.
Yeah, the days of no internet.
Yeah, the days of no internet when, you had a favorite show and you would watch it and you would have to wait until the next episode aired before you got to know what happens next, and the only other fans that you might possibly encounter were probably people you either went to school with or church or scouts or something, or if you were fortunate enough to, if there was a fan club or a fan magazine that you could write into.
Yeah. But it was all you had to wait.
You had to wait
the next day to talk to anybody. Whereas now you can jump on 2 minutes after the episode's over and get on Twitter or whatever and say, "Did you see? Oh my gosh, blah blah blah."
Yeah.
Or sometimes not even before it's over.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. And time zones being the way they are, when I Doctor Who airs in the UK, and in my time zone it's early afternoon, so I have to stay off the internet until I can see it, when it airs over here.
I can't really avoid that by finding a live stream of some description and watching that.
There's a reason that the 50th anniversary was simulcast,
and then I rewatch it when it's on here.
Yeah, that could work.
There's a reason that the 50th anniversary was simulcast around the world.
Yeah.
Just for that reason.
Very true. There would have been spoilers.
Spoilers about. So.
But one of the things that I love being a fan. I love being in fandom. I love stories. I love fiction. I love science fiction. I love fantasy. I love all of this stuff. Because I'm of the opinion that reality is really a crappy place to be. And the less time I spend in reality, this is going to sound weird, but the less time I spend in reality, the happier I am. Because the world's kind of a crappy place. And, I don't like to see people getting upset with it. I have to say this right. And I apologize if I don't say it right. I don't like to see people getting upset over something that in the long run doesn't really matter. That it's something that it's a show, it's something we have fun with, and it's something really enjoyable and something that brings a lot of joy to me. I mean, there are things about Doctor Who and other shows that I watch, and I'll get into another show that has had some angst lately that people need to be talked to. that they, I don't like seeing all this angst and strife about it. And you can look at an episode of whatever show or a book and look at it critically and say, okay, I didn't like how this was done. Maybe you could have done this better, or this is what I would rather have seen. But I'm not going to get too worked up about it. like, and I'll bring up this other example. Recently with the ending of the finale of Once Upon a Time, and where there was some things that happened that were like there was some story arcs that came to an end. I won't say what they were because I don't know if Michelle, if you're caught up quite yet.
Yeah, I'm still
okay.
I'm like episode 10 of season 3.
Okay, well I won't give away the finale, but I will just say some really big character arcs came to an end. They were closed off so they can get ready for next season and start out with a fresh slate. I loved the season finale. It was fantastic. It was great. It was so well done, really creative, and everybody from the writers, the actors, the special effects, costuming, everything. The music was just spot on. Loved it. It was brilliant, and I've watched it like 4 times now since it aired last month because it's lovely. I love it, and a lot of this comes because shipping. You're concerned, who the couples are. And there was some big shipping stuff that happened in the finale with more than one ship. If you know what a ship is, relationship, whatever. Well, anyway, I'm going around this. I'm going in kind of a roundabout way. I'm sorry. I'm not very articulate.
We're trying to avoid spoilers, so.
I'm trying to avoid spoilers. But I can tell you, okay, so, about 2 or 3 weeks after the finale aired, Jennifer Morrison, who plays Emma Swan, was at the Monte Carlo Television Festival. Can't remember the date. And she was giving interviews about what happened in the season finale. And she was, and bear in mind, the writers, they're working on the scripts for season 4 now. The actors haven't seen the scripts, and none of that stuff has been publicized. Or it's not out there, so that she doesn't know what's going to happen to her character, but she can kind of guess by what's already happened. And so she gave the interview, and she, because that's what she does. That's part of her job as being on the show. And oh my gosh, after she gave that interview and quotes started coming out, people who don't like the ship that don't like the ship that happened, and like other ships, went on her Twitter, on Facebook. Maybe, I don't know if she has Instagram or not, but those were the 2 main ones. And they were just saying, the worst possible things directly to her. And I saw this going around on Tumblr, and a lot of other fans were just, so upset and so mad that people would actually have the gall and the gumption to go on and directly send those kinds of messages to her. She actually had to get on Facebook and respond, post a response, and it made me so mad when I read that she had to do that. But one good thing came out of this. Some other fans, we all kind of came together and said, look, this isn't right. You may not like the character, you may not like how the story's going or any of this stuff, but you don't take it out on the actors, and you don't take it out on the creators. That's just, if you don't like the show, you can stop watching. It's fine. And it's not, it's not the end of the world, and you don't have to go off on these people just because you had a different vision of the show. I mean, you're not, they're running the show and that kind of thing. And so when I see that kind of stuff, I mean, I think it's awesome that actors and writers and producers are on Twitter and they're interacting with the fans, because I think that's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, Rachel, you've talked to Colin Baker on Twitter.
I know, that makes me so happy.
It's so cool. And I kind of, and I'm sort of chicken when it comes to that. I follow these people on Twitter and stuff, but I'm even when I want to say hi, I did a great job, and you're my favorite, and your character's my favorite, and hello, I kind of chicken about getting up there and saying that just because I'm kind of shy. But when I see people sending these negative comments, I get really motivated to stand up and say, look, I'm a fan of this. I'm a fan of your work. I'm a fan of your what am I trying to say? A fan of your character. And I just want to stand up and say, don't judge us all by these terrible fans who are just terrible, awful people. And oh my gosh, it just upsets me a lot when they do that, because I appreciate what these actors and people they put themselves out there, and that's their job and they're used to it, I guess. And but then to have people just say nasty things about what they do when it's like not really anything wrong they did. It's just the way that the story goes. It's like, it really annoys me, and I hate it. And I don't want, I don't know. I'm kind of sensitive to those things, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. You can't see me, but I'm nodding my head vigorously at everything you're saying.
Me too.
You know, and it's a double-edged sword, really, is what it is. You know, being in the day and age we're in is, you know, things like Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. I mean, we can connect with, you know, the stars and the producers and the writers, and they enjoy hearing feedback from the fans, and they like connecting with the fans because, you know, they try to go to conventions and stuff, but, you know, there's not enough hours in the day for them to meet with every single fan.
And there's so many fans.
So, you know, social media is a great way to do that. And Twitter is one of those things where it's like, yeah, you got 140 characters, but I mean, it's awesome when you see, you know, in your Twitter feed a response from somebody that you're a fan of. You know, I've gotten responses on Twitter from Colin Baker, who is my doctor, and I, you know, squeed outrageously when I saw, you know, I've had responses from Katie Manning and Nicola Bryant and Nicholas Briggs, and it's like, this is so awesome. Like, you saw my tweet and you actually took the time to respond to it.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Even if all they do is just like it, it's so cool.
I know.
And
it is.
And like a couple years ago, I actually had a response on my blog for a book series that I reviewed, and was like,
that.
Yeah, Michael J. Sullivan responded to my blog post about his series, The Rhaenyra Chronicle, or Rhaenyra Revelations. That's the one it was. And he said I said, oh, how much I loved it, and then I didn't like tweet it to him or anything. He just like found it on a Google alert or something, and he said, thank you so much for your review and all this stuff. And I about lost it when I saw that, because I was just like, oh my gosh, this author that I love his work and I enjoyed his book so much, he actually responded to, dopey little me who just has a blog and I love books, and here I am. And it was just a really cool thing. And
yeah.
And another thing, like talking about behind the scenes stuff, like going back to Once Upon a Time, and I know they do this with other TV shows, especially on ABC. There's a lot that do this. I think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the actors from them have done that, but they will post pictures on Twitter of stuff going on behind the scenes, and it's just the cast goofing around between takes or makeup or whatever they're doing, and it's just those cool little things that we're waiting for the show to premiere, and we're waiting, it's the long hiatus, and how are we ever going to get over this? Oh, look, so-and-so put up a picture of, getting into costume or whatever. Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And, and I don't want to see those things go away because people abuse this. I mean, they don't have to be on Twitter. They don't have to be on social media.
Exactly.
It's in their contract, but I can see where it could be abused, and it will go away eventually just because some fans have to ruin it. It's like, this is why we can't have nice things, people.
Exactly.
Let's keep these nice things.
Okay.
Let's act like decent human beings. Let's not act like a bunch of, trolls under the bridge. And, let's play nice. Because we can do that. You can disagree. You can not like something. That is totally okay. You can not like it in a thoughtful,
civilized manner,
meaningful way. But just don't say that. I hate this and I hate you, and it's like, because that
scares them away, and then we can't talk to them. I mean, people may not realize that Stephen Moffat used to be on Twitter. He's not anymore.
Yes. That one, and that
his wife is
so bad. Yeah, his wife's still on there. But I will, because she does Sherlock. She's mostly, does Sherlock. Like, do this. I never saw the Sherlock fans getting up in arms about whatever Stephen Moffat did. It's maybe I'm not like as into Sherlock as I'm into Doctor Who, so maybe I just don't see it. But I think it's a lot of the Doctor Who fans, they just, rake Stephen Moffat over the coals, and maybe it's just because maybe it's just because he's in charge. I mean, I I imagine maybe that people were upset about things that happened in the 70s or the 80s, and we just didn't have Twitter back then. But I remember last year with the 50th anniversary and everybody like saying, oh, 50th anniversary has to have this or has to have that. Somebody mocked up a little Twitter feed from 1972 of what they wanted to see in the Three Doctors, and I should have pulled it up before we started, but I just thought of it now. And like people were getting on there and saying, well, it was like tweets saying, oh, Peter Cushing has to be in it because he was in the only successful movie, and we've got to have, the board back, and we've got to, or, just all these different things like this, just kind of making fun of fans who were, for the 50th anniversary, were saying, well, you have to have classic Doctors back, or you have to have these monsters back, and if this doesn't happen, then I'm not going to watch it, and blah, 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 blah. And, just kind of, and it was so funny, but it was sad because it was also so true, because it was reflecting what people were actually talking about at the time. And we got an excellent 50th anniversary special. I don't think anyone could argue that unless they're just being contrary, and just to be contrary, a bunch of hipsters.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've been yakking your ears off. Someone else take this topic.
I can't see Chrissy's face, but I'm pretty sure it's turning red.
Well, I don't know. It could be just the heat or something. I get really, this topic really gets me up in arms.
It is, because it doesn't occur to me, even being on the internet and having that veil of anonymity, even if you have to create an account, you come up with some random name and fake profile information to hide who you are, but it never occurs to me to use the ability to hide behind my computer screen to just tear people apart and be nasty. It's like, there may be things on my shows that I don't agree with, and I may not like it, but I've never been all like, oh, I'm gonna get on somebody's Facebook or Instagram and comment and say all this nasty stuff. It's like, it's just hard to wrap your head around what the logic is when people do something like that.
What do you think you're going to accomplish by this? I mean, exactly. The episode's already aired. It's like, what are they going to issue, a retraction?
Yeah.
Like, what do you want to have happen with this? Like, what? I don't get it. I honestly don't. And then the other thing is, you have to realize, and I think about this with Stephen Moffat. I mean, he's the showrunner of the show I love, so he's kind of an easy one for me to talk about. But if you've ever read A Writer's Tale, the Russell T Davies book, where he was like corresponding with a journalist about, and they put this book together. It's just about stuff going on behind the scenes with Doctor Who, and there's actually a section in there where with Russell and Stephen Moffat corresponding back and forth right around when RTD was going to step down and Stephen Moffat was going to take over. And in Stephen Moffat's email, he says, this is my dream job. It's the job I wanted to have since I was 7, but the BBC wouldn't let me do it. And you kind of think, I mean, we talk about Peter Capaldi, about, this is he's been a fan since he was a kid, and this is his dream. That's why, he became an actor, or, however the story goes, so he could play the Doctor. Well, Stephen Moffat, this has been his dream since he was a little kid. And, he seems like a tough, thick-skinned Scot. I mean, maybe I'm just projecting my own insecurities into this situation, but how would you feel if you finally got your dream job that you've been dreaming about since you were a little kid, and then people just came in that had no idea what you do, and just, but they profess to be a fan of what you do, but they come in and then to just tell you you've ruined it, you're a horrible person, and you just need to go away and let somebody else because you're not doing it right, and you suck. And I don't know. And
You suck is the nicest version we're going to use on this show because we want to keep it family friendly.
Yeah, that's true. We had to have this discussion. Like, can we bleep words out, or
Yeah.
do we? And we don't have that capability, so we have to all watch it. Me especially.
Yeah. Use your imagination on what kind of language people use out there on the internet, and it's probably worse.
You know what it is. You know what it is.
Yes.
And if you don't, well, don't ask them.
Yeah. Don't ask your parents, kids. That'd be bad.
Yeah. Don't.
Yeah.
But you know, even with the all the bad there is, I mean, there is some good that comes out of it. I mean, if it wasn't for social media, like, we wouldn't be here together.
Exactly.
Us, you know, which is awesome. You know, we started out listening to the same podcast and connecting on Twitter. And from there, we went to Facebook, and then from Facebook to trading phone numbers and getting on Skype, and lo and behold, look what we're doing now.
Exactly.
So
online fandom isn't all terrible. It's just the few little cockroaches that like to ruin the Sunday.
Yeah.
If
Yes.
I may use that metaphor.
It seems that the dissenting voice seems to be the loudest one. And if there's a way to cure that, I would, you know, if somebody figures out how to cure that, give them $1 million or a Nobel Prize or something.
I guess it's just human nature to, you know, rail against the things that you don't like, and not, you know, if you like something. I heard the metaphor or the example before, like you take your car to the mechanic and they fix it, and you drive off and you're happy, but you never think, oh, I should call them and tell them they did a good job, because you expect them to do a good job. But when you take it to the mechanic and to get it fixed and they don't fix it, and you drive it off and it's still broken, you're more likely to call them and say, you know, you dirty, rotten so-and-so, why didn't you fix my car?
Yeah.
I guess it's sort of, it's easier to fight against something than it is to be positive.
Yeah.
About something that you love, because if you love it, you just sort of sit back and say, "Oh, this is great," and if it doesn't go your way, you're like, "Oh, this is terrible," and I must yell about it.
Exactly.
And that may be what, you know, those of us that are the Glinda good witches of the fandom universe. That's what we probably need to strive to do. You know, like Chrissy, you said earlier that, you know, you get skittish about tweeting out to, you know, your favorite people, but that may be what we need to do, is we need to make sure that the positive vibes and messages become the loudest ones.
Drown out the negative Nellies,
Exactly.
Like when the Once Upon a Time finale aired, I got on Twitter. I mean, I was like so jazzed about it and just so excited, and I was on Twitter and I was sending tweets to the people saying, I loved the finale, you guys did a great job, because I was on that adrenaline high, so I didn't feel quite so skittish about doing it. And I can only imagine I was maybe one of thousands, you know, hundreds of thousands who were sending such tweets, and that makes me feel good. But now, you know, the finale's over, and, you know, and they're going to conventions, and I guess another thing happened with someone at a convention recently with Once Upon a Time. I think it was Lana Perea, who she's the evil queen. Anyways, she's been going to a couple conventions lately, and she must have said something. I haven't heard the whole story. Holly was telling me about it, and she was going to talk about it, but before she had to bow out. And I guess it's happening again, even as we speak, as people are upset because she made a comment about something that happened last season, and that's probably going to continue into next season, and people are mad because that's not what they wanted to have happen, but they're taking it out on her when she's not the one writing the show. And I love watching Lana when I see like the convention footage and people talking, and she's just so exciting and so excited about being on the show and interacting with the fans. And it's like, I don't want that to go away. I want to be able to enjoy that and to, you know, enjoy these interactions, because actors and they're fans of the show they're working on, which is kind of an interesting way to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to be excited about it, and and enjoy it. And I just want everyone to be happy, and I don't want anyone to be sad and upset and angry. Yeah, because that doesn't do you any good. I mean, yeah, anger is for people who go into politics. But politicians and political people can be angry. I don't want to be angry. Their life's too short for that crap. Yep.
Anyone have any final
Someone
thoughts?
else talk, please.
But I've always said that if you don't like how the show is going, or how the characters are developed, go away and write fan fiction or something.
But what about when the anger's justified, like lack of representation for LGBTQ whatever, or what? What then?
I think there's a reasonable way you can broach that. The one thing about that I don't agree with is when they just do the representation just to have representation, just to say, oh, look what we did it, because, and then it doesn't add anything to the story, or the character isn't well developed, or things like that. But I think if it's a legitimate complaint, and it's something you can say reasonably, I mean, that's something, like, when you watch a show and you have, and you think about it, that means you're engaging with the material, and you're not just passively consuming media. And you bring that out, and you just kind of say, look, I think that this is something you guys could do better, and hopefully the creators listen, and often they do. But yelling about it and being angry and unreasonable about it doesn't help. But I think there's something to be said about doing it in a mature, reasoned way.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. It does to me. I mean, like, if you have a legitimate concern about something, either whether it's a lack of representation or, a storyline maybe not written, maybe if it's something extreme, and maybe it could be, the writers could be more sensitive about a subject, that sort of thing. If you can explain yourself in a reasonable manner, you don't have to be eloquent with your words, but I mean, if you can explain without attacking just to attack and not name call, then letting your voice be heard is not a bad thing. I think you have every right to voice that concern.
Yeah, but then there are the fans who react against that, who say that people who interpret characters as transgender or gay or whatever are reading too much into it and should be happy with what they get. And when the cisgendered heterosexuals have a billion examples of them and are trying to deny people who don't fall into that category representation, the same opportunities for representation.
So are you saying, like, I was trying to understand.
Hello?
Hello. Can you hear? I can hear you, Michelle. Because I just like, are you saying? I don't know what you said. Like, if people interpret it without it being explicitly said, because you can, if I'm understanding this right, you can bring.
I'm going to use an example from Supernatural.
Okay.
Dean Winchester is interpreted by a large portion of fandom as being bisexual.
Okay.
And he's like a really masculine, really strong, and there's that interpretation. And
is it fans that are fighting against the interpretation?
Well, it's mostly the fans, and they're saying that the actor would be uncomfortable with portraying a homosexual relationship or a bisexual character, yada yada yada, when he's portrayed that sort of thing, and he's become, and like, because there was a fan at a convention a while ago who said she was bisexual and identified with Dean, but the crowd, but there was a huge negative reaction, but since then he's apparently gotten a lot better at that sort of thing.
Right. I think this is kind of my thoughts on that, if I can. I think people, when you're interpreting it like that, like you bring your own, how do I want to say this? Your own background to the interpretation. You bring your own baggage, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And so some people may see one thing, and others may not see that at all. And like as far as fan interpretation goes, that's okay. Has like the actor explicitly said?
I don't know if there's anything been explicitly said, but it seems to be really leaning in that direction, especially with the ship Destiel, Dean and Castiel, the Angel.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it seems to be leaning in that direction, but nothing's become canon yet. And the people who are arguing for Dean's bisexuality and for the ship are saying that would be a huge, very good thing for the representation of non-straight characters in media, because this is like throughout most of the season he's been portrayed as very straight, very interested in women, but there's been a sort of a shift that he's seen possibly a little bit interested in men as well. Mm-hmm. And so and that would be a really positive, because like I said, he's very masculine. He loves his car. He's very
So he's a stereotypical alpha male.
He's a stereotypical straight male character.
Okay.
I think the stereotypical alpha male character. If it came out that he was bisexual, that would be a huge boon towards the representation of like non-straight people.
I think in this case, where it hasn't been made explicitly canon, I think for now it's like the fans are discussing it amongst themselves, and sometimes like you get into that infighting with the fans. Like one side, some fans say this, some fans say no, you're wrong,
right.
And and I used to have this tagline on my Tumblr, because I would see a lot of arguments on Tumblr, with shipping or whatever, and basically it was just like anything I don't like doesn't exist. But that's only in my mind, and it's only in my circle, I guess, because I don't like to get into argument stuff. Now, I know a lot of people like to argue and debate and things, and that's fine. And I think fandom is better for that, is for having those discussions and those disagreements. And like you said, it's important for that representation, and to have these discussions. I mean, there's lots of things I never would have considered had I not been part of fandom, and some I agree with, some I don't, just because that's what what I bring from my background to the text. And so I don't know where I'm going with this. So I think if the only way I could see it like being a really huge problem if it actually did happen, which would be fine, but then the one side of the fandom that said it could never happen would totally, get mad at the creators, at the actors who are portraying those characters, and start, saying, how dare you do this, because I never wanted to see this in this show, and now I can't ever watch it, and it's ruined forever, blah, blah, blah. And it's sort of like, well, tough turtles for you, that's the way we went. And you're not the one running the show. I mean, you don't want it to have that attitude, but they're kind of caught in a bad place where the fans are unhappy, and anyway. It's like, but that's what we did, and there's this other half of fandom that's really happy about it, and hopefully they'll speak up and say, "Yay, we're glad you did this," and that's what we always saw in these characters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ship wars are a special kind of flame wars.
That's an episode all in itself, and we could
talk
about.
It doesn't matter if it's
shipping.
It doesn't matter what kind of ship it is.
Started on the Doctor as a non-binary character.
Like the shipping wars are their own special circle on the internet.
Yes, indeed they are.
But it's like Chrissy said. The people are gonna, if something's not canon, and that's another topic all in itself. Is how do you determine what is canon and what is not?
And everybody's got their own version of canon, especially with Doctor Who.
Exactly. I mean, if something is not explicitly said, people are going to interpret, this character looked at this person in this scene, and therefore that, that says this. I can't speak for the Supernatural fandom, but I can speak for the Sherlock fandom that John Locke is a huge shipping war out there on the internet. And
then you've got the Sherlock and Molly shippers.
Yes, and
the Sherlock and the Sherlock and nobody shippers.
Yeah.
He's asexual.
It is up to it. Obviously, it is people's interpretation of, these actors' portrayals of these characters on this show, but to see them fight on mostly Tumblr.
Tumblr is infamous for this. I love Tumblr, but some days I just have to, take my hand off the keyboard and walk away.
Yeah. But it's, people are going to project their life experiences, their insecurities, where they are in life onto whatever fandom is that they've latched onto, because there's obviously something in this television show, movie, series, books, whatever, that has spoken to them on a level, and they've connected with it, and therefore, and they're taking themselves and their life experiences and combining the two, and sometimes they project, and they project in the form of comments and stuff out there on the internet, and that's they're more than welcome to do that. It's my issue is with this whole thing is just when people fight with each other just for the sake of fighting.
Yes.
And it goes nowhere. It's like, what purpose does this serve?
It's like a dog chasing its tail. It's just going to go in circles and and it's a futile effort. But they're going to do it anyway. And like I said, I can't put myself in that mindset to try and understand why they're doing it. But it makes me sad to see it. It hurts my heart. I'm the let's all sit around the campfire and sing Kumbaya type of mindset.
Yeah, me too.
Like, can't we all just get along?
I would rather focus on the good things that fandom has brought me than to focus on, I didn't like what that storyline did or what that character did. I mean, I have had, I'm one of those people that likes to talk to herself when I'm in the car or in the shower.
Yeah.
And usually I talk about my fandoms, and this year I'm going to go back to Once Upon a Time. Season 3 was actually really, really, really good when all was said and done, but there were some stretches in there that I was just like, oh, why did you do this? Why did you do that? You could have done this better. Or this part, oh my gosh, I can't believe all this. And I was actually getting really frustrated with it, and and I would talk to myself about, you could do this different, but I would never in my wildest dreams presume to, tweet to Adam and Eddie and say, hey, I think this is what you ought to do, and you're doing it wrong. Right. And then, when it finally was all done, and then I could go back and say, oh, I see what you were doing there, because you were setting up for this other thing. Now I love it. And now I kind of see, okay, you guys are sort of, they call it playing the long game,
Yeah.
It's like, I know where you were going with this. All of a sudden, and there are still some things that I'm kind of like, what in the world were you guys thinking? I think you could have done that better, but it doesn't diminish my love of the show. It doesn't make me want to. I could just ignore the stuff that I didn't like. I could just not focus on it and focus on the things that I did like, and squee about those things because they make me happy. Because there is enough strife and contention and fighting in the world, and I know I'm getting like way deep here, but I'm like, I don't need to bring that. I don't need to bring conflict into my fandom, other than the conflict they create in order to tell a good story.
Right.
Yeah. Agreed.
But the one good thing to kind of piggyback on what Michelle was talking about is, with all the infighting and everything, that every now and then you will get that can develop into a well thought out conversation that may turn into something and shed some light on maybe an issue in the fandom community that needs some light shine onto it, like the LGBT Q community. I'm not going to get into politics here, but obviously that is something that is got some issues in the mainstream, and maybe those in the fandom community that are passionate about this particular subject can take that passion and turn it into something for good.
Yeah. And yes. Yeah, and I that is something I've actually, because I don't really know anything about that, and I try not to, I guess, not necessarily pass judgment, but I like to have all the facts before I decide what my opinion is, and I still don't know what my opinion is because I'm still gathering all the facts. But I think part of being in fandom kind of allows me to hear these stories and to hear the side of to hear different sides of what everybody's going through, and I can kind of put things into perspective as best I can. And so I think that, those are really good discussions to have, and I am, the more reasonable, well thought out discussions we have that isn't all about name calling, it isn't all about wanting to put each other down, and it isn't all about trying to score points and I'm right, you're wrong. I would rather have that discussion. When all is said and done, I don't care about being right or wrong. I care about, were you a jerk to me or not, or to someone I care about. I would rather be wrong than be awful, than be mean to somebody.
Yeah. Me too.
And that's basically what it boils down to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Anyone have any final thoughts?
Well, I just want to reiterate that we're not saying that everyone has to agree with everything. Just,
of course not.
Be civilized about
yes.
it.
And I can attest it can be done. I have a friend that I met her in grad school, and we're kind of co-workers now, and we're really, really good friends. But if all you knew about us was our political and religious and different family situation and all those kinds of affiliations, you would look at us and be like, how in the world are you two friends? There is no possible way that you two could ever get along. But we do. We talk, we're just really good friends, and I respect her a lot, and we have good discussions. We don't bring up religion and politics too often, but
we never do.
We never do. I think we did once, and we just kind of let that sit. But yeah, we're really, really good friends, and it is possible to be friends with people that on major issues maybe you just don't agree with, but that's okay. Because you focus on the things you do have in common.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Michelle, you have any final words?
I don't think so.
Be nice to everybody.
Be nice. Love everybody. Let's be excellent to each other.
In the words of John Lennon, give peace a chance.
Yes.
Just remember, everybody is someone's son or daughter, or brother, sister, friend, and you would be upset if someone treated your friends that way.
Yes. Everyone has feelings.
Kumbaya. We love each other.
Yes.
This is a very good discussion. I'm kind of enjoying this.
Yes. This is definitely unfortunately it's not going to be fixed overnight, and this discussion will continue, but with any luck,
our 2 cents on it.
Yeah, it's definitely our 2 cents, and with any luck, maybe somebody will hear this, and maybe a light switch will flip on, and they'll go, "Oh, I don't have to be a righteous jerk to everybody."
Yes.
Although there will be people who real like, well, I'm justified in my anger, and it's like, okay, whatever.
All right.
Love you, enjoy your life. Just remember, there will always be jerks in the world, but you don't have to be one of them.
Exactly.
Yep.
So I think with those wise words, I think we'll wrap up for this week. So hopefully everybody who has heard this has enjoyed our nice little diatribe about this particular subject, and we welcome to continue the discussion with the comments and feedback and all that. You can always put comments on the video on YouTube or on our blog. There is a contact us form on the blog as well, along with our email address if you want to send us an email, tweet us, send us audio feedback, carrier pigeon, smoke signal. We'll take it all. Some may take longer for us to respond to and recognize, but we'll take it.
Yes. You'll have to send us an interpretation with the smoke signals, though, because I forgot how to do it.
My husband's my husband's a former Boy Scout. I'll have him do it for us.
Good man.
Yep.
Good man. So yes, and remember our website is the 5ish Fangirls podcast.blogspot.com, and Twitter at 5ish Fangirls, Tumblr 5ish Fangirls.tumblr.com, Facebook 5ish Fangirls. But if you get to the blog, you'll find us pretty much anything you need to know. So anyway, please do send us comments and feedback and stuff, because we enjoy that.
Yes, we all get very, very happy when we see them. At least I do.
Yes. So, with that,
I get a little nervous because I'm like, oh, what if they hated it?
Oh, yeah. Luckily, no one has
kidding.
yet. At least they haven't said.
Yep. Maybe they're like Thumper. If you can't say something nice, don't say nothing at all.
Such wisdom from a movie about a deer.
Yeah,
from a bunny rabbit.
And a bunny rabbit. With that, we will sign off until next week.
This is Brittany from Taos saying goodbye.
This is Chrissy from Salt Lake City, Utah, saying goodnight.
And Michelle has gotten lost in the vortex, I think. Again. I hope. Oh, she may be coming back. Is she coming back? I see her struggling, trying to wrench herself away from the master's clutches.
I feel like we need a sound effect to go here.
Yes.
There's your sound effect.
I can't remember if they had a song. I need to watch the 5 Doctors again. Like I need an excuse.
Exactly. Anyway, I'm sure Michelle sends her regards from the vortex.
Yeah, Michelle sends her regards from the vortex, and
I'm glad she made it for the discussion, though.
Yeah.
And Holly, yes.
Yeah. Holly hopes that she will be here next week, and I am Rachel from Indianapolis, and kumbaya, people, kumbaya.
Kumbaya. Love everybody. Be excellent out there.
Yes.
You have been listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. Any and all movies, books, games, and other forms of media mentioned are owned and operated by the respective copyright holders. No copyright infringement is intended or implied.